Took out the rocket launcher with good reason, because we're taking a look at a new product from 40 Max, which is a company that sells and produces anything airsoft that goes boom, like grenade launchers and shells and grenades and you name it, anything that pops goes boom and shoots BBs everywhere. And 40 Max decided they wanted to send me one and have me check it out. This is their newest product on the market, the Cyclops 2. So thank you 40 Max for sending it out. Let's take a look at what we have inside the box. So right away we're greeted with two things. We have the base and what looks to be gas reservoir and the body of the Cyclops 2. That's weird. I haven't owned any shells, like grenade launcher shells from 40 Max before, but it looks like we have the internal tube of where all the BBs are going to go. And then the shell. I think that's the front. Yeah, that's going to be the front. Interesting. That's a. We'll take everything out first, and then we'll get into it. All right. So in the box, we also just have some O-rings. I don't know if we're going to need these right now, but we'll take those out as well. Now, I am very, very excited about this, specifically because I picked up this Law a long time ago, the M72 A3 Law, and most, if not like almost all, grenade shells just don't fit in it. But I think the 40 Maxes are the ones that they said do, so I'm hoping 40 Max's new brand of shells will fit. It looks like we first have the gas reservoir, and then obviously your standard loading port at the base, and then the button that'll allow you to expel the gas out of the reservoir and push the BBs forward. This is what I find most interesting, is how loose this inner and outer casing are. These seem to be, I think that's plastic. Yeah, so that's plastic. This is plastic. This top is aluminum. And I think the top just sits in on a ridge, so it can't go out the other side. And then when screwing this guy onto the base, that's what keeps it in place. But why is that not? That's weird. Interesting. Okay, so we have to make sure we line it up. We have to make sure we line up that open hole with the open hole, and then the no hole with the no hole, like that. First. That's funky. Okay, so it sits on the base first, and then you screw it in. And then it sits nice and tight. Cool. And up on the front, it says, do not face to your eyes. Oops. And push to switch modes. What are the modes? Oh, so there's normal mode is up top, and then there's boost mode, which is down below. I would assume that is a power adjustment. Maybe the power adjustment boost is more power, normal is less power. That's wild. Okay, let's see if it fits inside the Law. That's what I'm really most excited about, because I don't have any other way to fire this right now, and I really, really hope I don't just have to do it by hand, because that would stink. So we'll close the Law up, and I'll pop the rear out, and we'll just drop this guy on in place. Oh my God, it fits. They never fit. Oh, that's phenomenal. It fits. Oh, I'm so excited. Let's go. Okay, so if these work, I may actually go and pick up a bunch of these, because I've had a really hard time finding high quality shells that fit every time. The only ones that I've been able to find are the T238 shells that fit, and now 40 Maxes fit. The Ace Tech ones didn't fit, unfortunately. That's really what I was hoping for, and I know the Lancer Tacticals didn't fit either. But let's go test out this guy. Base of this guy specifically states do not use CO2, make sure you use green gas only, so that's nice that it mentions that. I'm just going to go ahead and toss the green gas in there, or at least my propane. Also, when loading BBs right up at the top, I will say it loads very easily. Obviously, it's up to your speed loader, but they push in super easily, and it doesn't feel like you're like chopping the BBs in half at all, so that's good. Something else that's interesting is right up at the hole, there's no O-ring, so a good majority of the center BBs fall out before you can get them all obviously up into that spiral. So the center is, I assume, not supposed to hold rounds until it's ready to fire. Also seems like we didn't totally fill it yet, so I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a spin and we'll throw some more in. So I've loaded the Cyclops 2 from 40 max up with rounds and propane. Again, these are .3s, so they're a little on the heavier side. I don't recommend that because you want to use BBs that are going to keep it cheap. And we're going to start off with the normal setting. Now, something that I know from testing out different 40mm shells is the different styles of shells will depend on how much power they output and how much distance you get. There's a few different kinds. There's showers, which have a bunch of different ports and a handful of BBs go in each port, and then they kind of just spread out in the area that you're aiming at. There's projectiles, where either they're shooting a capsule filled with rounds or they're shooting a single projectile out, like more of like an actual noob tube. And then there's the single port nade launchers like this one, which tend to be the most aggressive. They are often more powerful because all of the gas is pushing out of a single port and the BBs just fire like a straight line of rounds downrange. So we'll assume, rightfully so, this one is going to be more powerful than the others. I don't know if it's going to be like 40 mic powerful, where like that thing was just absolutely terrifying, but obviously we'll see. And hopefully everything goes well. So I'm going to start our first fire test in 3, 2, 1. That sounded terrifying. The echo from the inside of the Law was absurd. I did notice that some of the BBs didn't make it all that far, and I wonder if it was because of the trigger of the Law. Sometimes that has a problem where the trigger takes too long to press, and it slowly presses the button that releases the gas instead of getting all the gas out quickly. So that could be grounds for concern. Maybe, though, it was just because we had it. Some of the rounds were still in there, so that actually might be the case. Okay, we're going to try it in the higher power mode, and then we'll try and take it out of the Law and see if it performs any better. Because often when shells don't work in the Law, they work better outside the Law because it's not as good as most nade launchers, unfortunately. So we're all loaded up and ready to go. We are set into what they deem it as the boost mode. So I assume this will give us a little bit of a boost in power, so long as the Law isn't what's restricting the power. All right. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was that was terrifying. Oh my God. The other mode was like Nerf. That was ridiculous. In comparison, that first mode was nothing. There's still maybe like a round left in there, but dear God. So I drew myself on a piece of cardboard, and what I want to do now is kind of get an idea of what the damage would look like if you were going to get hit by this thing, or if I got hit by this thing. So I feel real bad for myself, but again, we're still in boost mode. It's the only one we're going to play with for now because it's just the most interesting. In 3, 2, 1. You see the smoke coming off, like the wood chips and powder coming off of that thing? This is one shot. I look like shredded cheese. Lastly, before we wrap things up and take a look at its internals and stuff a little bit deeper, I want to just go for a range test and see how far we can get these rounds to go. So I'm just going to aim out into the woods and we'll see what we got. No arc at all. 3, 2, 1. The echo of that is insane. And that really did go quite a decent distance. I would say probably about 50, 60 meters or so. If I'm being totally honest with you, 40 Max has been on the ball recently. Everything that I've checked out from them, including their nades and stuff, which if you haven't seen those videos, go check them out, have been fantastic. I love the black on the red. I love the fact that 40 Max puts like little do's and don'ts and wording and directions and reminders and stuff and all this stuff on it, so that in case you forget, like sometimes if they didn't have this, you wouldn't know which side is boost and which side is normal. If you were just out to the field and you haven't used it in a little while, maybe you forget that you can only use CO2 or you can't use CO2 and you do on accident. If you want to remember how to reset it. You just deep press the button to reset. It says it right there. It's really, really nice and convenient. They do take a lot of rounds. I recommend using lighter BBs. The lighter you go, the further and faster they're going to travel. That's just how it's going to work. Huge, huge plus. This is one of the first 40 millimeters on the market that I know of that has a high power and a low power mode. That is massive. Massive. Depends who you're playing with kids, playing with adults, what field you're playing with or at, what countries you're playing in, legal limits and whatnot. That is a huge, huge plus. I originally was worried that it was going to be hard to load this guy because after looking at it off camera, when you load the BBs down the top, they come down to the center point and then they start to spiral upwards into the body of the 40 millimeter. However, it's one of the easiest 40 millimeters I've ever loaded before, and it looks like the blocker, the way that it works, is originally, for some reason, I was under the impression it was going to spew gas right out the bottom in the middle. Obviously, there's no port. I wasn't really sure how it worked, and I was worried that, like, while the gas spilled out, the rounds were going to weaken on the way down because, obviously, gas was pouring out, and the rounds weren't pouring out quick enough. But after further inspection, there's a small hole at the top where the BBs are going to be. And what those do is it just pushes the gas through this port, up into the reservoir, through the hole, and then down the spiral and follows the BBs out like it should, which is really cool. And it's gravity fed, which means it's quicker, and the BBs aren't, or the gas isn't fighting gravity, it's agreeing with it. So it makes the ability to empty the rounds even faster. And then, of course, your restrictor here just restricts airflow a little bit and then doesn't restrict airflow, so you can adjust the power output. Just remember that when you do reinstall it, put the open port to the open port, and you're good to go. The extra added O-rings are a huge plus. I absolutely love this thing. I think the design is phenomenal, and it's also a profile that fits into a replica that I've had a hard time finding rounds for. I am absolutely going to pick up some more of these because they're the only ones that work. Oh, also, I feel like being that it's so easy to load and so little amount of force goes into it, you could probably, if you have the brain to do so, get an Odin adapter, or, which I'm in the market for and I haven't gotten. It would save me a lot of thumb curls if I got one. It's one of those like electric AEG speed loaders. Just throw this thing upside down onto that, and I'm sure it would just pour all of the rounds in there, so you didn't have to sit there and pump with the speed loader. So that'd be even cooler. Thank you, 40 Max, for sending this out again. It's the Cyclops 2. I'll throw a link in the description if you want to pick one of these up. I highly, highly recommend it. I mean, I don't know what the longevity is of it and if it'll withstand like drops and things like that, but dude, it worked. And it's absolutely menacing with the echo that it comes out of from the M72 A3 Law. Also, it sounds like one of the meanest zippers on the entire planet when that thing empties. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.